2025 is probably not be the year to keep ROI as one of the priorities.
Issue in terms of managing the tools, in terms of your finance and legal and all those things, your data security and other things. It becomes quite a challenge for the IT team.
Chances are there that the beneficiary will be some of those large enterprise tools which provides end-to-end capabilities, right?
A lot of times the business executives, they want to quickly get some data point or understand something that they feel is not very clear to them, especially with GenAI coming in, to look at how do you replace the agents with AI agents, right?
Hello everyone, welcome back to AI Connect podcast. Today we are going to do a special show looking at the next year. This is the time in the year where every organization is doing planning for the next year. We are at December now and we are doing the same exercise. We are doing the planning for the next year, and to do that, what we have done, like many others in our peer group, we have been reading analyst predictions. We also have been attending some of the analyst predictions events. Recently, we have done that one with one of the leading analyst prediction events. And today we are going to discuss some of those predictions, basically focusing on the AI space and the data and analytics space overall. We are going to refer to two analyst predictions here. One is going to be from Gartner, which is one of the leading analysts, and then the second is going to be Forrester, which is again another leading analyst companies. To start with, I'm going to invite Anirban, who is the co-founder and the CEO of Prescience Decision Solutions, and we are going to discuss primarily 4 trends today, and I hope that you enjoy the show. So let's get started. Welcome, Anirban.
Thanks, Jerry.
How have you been?
Yeah, doing good. Things are quite interesting. How are things with you?
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to this discussion today.
Yeah, same here.
All right, let's get started. Maybe we can start with one of the predictions that recently Gartner made for 2025, and this is related to analytics moving into 2025. So what Gartner said is in 2025, we are going to see augmented analytics will become mainstream. Now, I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
The first is, what is augmented analytics at a high level? And second is, what is meant by this prediction here? Maybe you can start with the first one.
Sure. Augmented analytics is generally what people say is allowing regular users, business users, to access data and get some of their own insights and interpretations directly. While you have your regular BI and dashboards and reports which they consume and which are generated by your BI team, but a lot of times the business executives, they want to quickly get some data point or understand something that they feel is not very clear to them from the data or from the report, and they would want to do something quickly rather than depending on the analyst team to get back to them after a certain period of time. So here, because of the changes and the rapid transformation of technologies, so it has become that much easier for us to provide augmented analytics to the business users.
So can we call that more like a self-service here?
Yeah, actually it is that. So where you move to the self-service mode and
giving more empowerment and in a way like authority for individual to take charge and do it on demand basis when needed.
Exactly. And this also helps the user to get the short and quick answers, right? While the BI team and the analyst teams can focus on really complex or situations that they want to address. This one is because of the rapid changes in GenAI and LLMs and all, it has become easier for us to provide this self-service analytics. So now even we are seeing a lot of this dashboarding tools and all are also integrating them, and then there are co-pilots and similar technologies which are coming in to help this go on. And in fact, we are right now working with a customer in the US where again they have their own PNBI team, But a lot of times the senior executives want to quickly get some data on especially on the sales and marketing and distribution side. And there we are enabling them to just write natural language queries on the chatbot, and that is then fed to the engine, and we gather the actual output and again give it back in a natural English language to the person who is asking that question.
Great. So it looks like there's going to be a lot more empowerment. One of the use cases, in fact, the use cases could be horizontal across any functions,
And in
right?
functions, yeah. And we have had a lot of our customers actually interested in this. Some of them have started doing POCs, right, to see how this will go. And it just depends on your data model and all, and how do you work across that and
That is
the
true.
LLM to ensure that you pick up the right data and the right inferences, and there are no hallucinations and wrong inputs given to those
And
executives.
this is done completely according to governance within the enterprise
Within the
data.
enterprise data, so that they don't
There's
get
no security issues.
infected by any outside data. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So with that, let me move to the next prediction, and this is from Forrester.
Mhm.
In 2025, Forrester says most enterprises fixated on AI ROI will scale back prematurely. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, so see, there are a lot of companies who were doing stuff on AI and on a different scales and all. And this is not just Gen AI, but a lot of other AI prediction and recommendation systems, right? And then 2 years back, this whole OpenAI came up with a solution, and then from then onwards, there has been a huge hype on Gen AI, LLMs, and what all can they do? Probably they can do everything. Because of that, there's a lot of attention that got created right up to the senior boardrooms, and people wanted to do stuff on AI and specifically on Gen AI. And it could be across things, right? Whether you're talking about customer representatives using AI or replacing them with AI, or you are looking at your sales processes, marketing processes, HR processes. Anywhere you look at it, people found use cases and they said, okay, we can do magic. But now what's actually happening is slowly people are realizing while doing the POCs and all that it has not been that easy to really generate ROI for those pilots and proof of concepts that you were doing. And so you have to show ROI for before this can be taken to the full scale implementation in any of these enterprises, right? So what has happening is there is one first at the first level it's a very difficult to always define a very clean ROI for a use case, right? So depending on, you will have the initial cost and the regular maintenance cost in terms of whether you're using Gen AI or some other tools, and the infrastructure, then the people, whether you have the trained people to even look at doing that, all those things. Then how do you define it? Because sometimes it can be a little hazy. You may not be able to clearly demarcate them in pure numbers in terms of the improvement that you're doing. And last but not the least, your ethical and other considerations come in. What kind of data are you using? Are you really supposed to use that data? Are you using personal data or PI data to generate this thing, which actually is probably not correct? And especially with a lot of regulations coming in many countries across the world, right? So, which is why I think the enterprises are now saying, okay, hold on, let's look at all the things we're trying to do here and figure out which ones look more promising and focus on them, where we can clearly see an ROI and take them to implementation, and then we'll come back to the others and look at them.
Yeah, to add to that, I think 2025, if you just look at, we are sitting right at the threshold. 2025 is probably not be the year to keep ROI as one of the priority. Considering that, like you mentioned, a lot of these POCs or pilot projects will go into production. The focus is going to be looking at tracking, measuring, and fine tuning, optimizing the performance before probably one looks at ROI. Because as it goes into production, probably there will be no other nuances that will evolve.
Correct.
And which will push the ROI discussion probably slightly far from 2025. Maybe it is going to be 2026 and beyond, right?
Absolutely.
And that is how probably most of the technologies have evolved. It will go through its own cycle of maturity before I think, like say, a CFO will look into the ROI piece.
Correct.
Also, next move to the next prediction. One of the other predictions that is done by Forrester in 2025 that 1 in 4 CX teams will cut underused tools in favor of good enough enterprise suites. What that means is, before we dive into the details, there are number of tools or SaaS tools are at play today in the customer experience space.
Right.
This is a space where many early organizations have taken, many of them have taken early jump, because customer experience has been a focus for last 5 to 6 years. It is at the heart of all customer facing interactions and engagement. And keeping that in mind, the adoption of some of these tools were very rapid. However, what Forrester is saying is that there are underused tools in the customer experience, and maybe the enterprises will start looking at consolidation and move into high end or good enough enterprise suites,
Right.
trading that off with some of the smaller standalone CX tools.
Right. Yeah, in fact, in this, even I would like to hear your views, but personally, I feel there has been a proliferation of number of tools in this whole CX space, right? And each one focusing on certain part of it. But managing that whole thing becomes very difficult, right? If you look at it, if you take a step back and look at it from the eye of the IT person or anyone else, because data has to move in from different parts, it's going into the tool, output has to go somewhere else, that input has to go to somewhere else, and all those things. So how do you manage that? That whole management becomes an issue in terms of doing that. Secondly, also issue in terms of managing the tools in terms of your finance and legal and all those things, the data security and other things. It becomes quite a challenge for the IT team to have so many of the things in the enterprise, the CX team, and that for the team also it becomes a challenge, because if you have so many tools, so you cannot have one person knowing all the tools, right? So then you have an expert in probably one tool is being used by only one person, and that person is not there, then what do you do? Okay, so he or she is on leave or whatever. So in that case, it becomes that much easier, because now we have enterprise tools which are offering most of these features. At a feature level, maybe the point solution is a little better than what you get in this suite. But if you look at the overall thing, if you're getting 80% of your work done through that, then you might as well leave aside those tools and just look at one for simple convenience, both from the user perspective as well as from your financial, legal, and IT team perspective.
Agreed. Yeah. So customer experience essentially is, if denotes all those touch points with customers
Exactly.
across the customer life cycle, starting from the first touch of how customer discovers you, how customer gets an email from, let's say, a vendor, how a chat bot interacts with the customer, how a campaign is delivered and create that experience, to how a service is delivered.
Correct.
Across those touch points, there are these, like you mentioned, those tiny little tools which is right now providing only one aspect of the larger customer experience part.
Correct.
So if you think of a life of a CIO who is responsible for managing the life cycle of some of these tools, it is, we understand, can be a nightmare. Besides, integrating them across enterprise workflow is a challenging task. So integrating them, managing the life cycle, and then ensuring that these tools are regularly updated, not just from the features and functionalities perspective, but also from security aspect, right? Compliance aspect, GDPR aspect, there are many aspects of it. So I think this is going to be a larger trend that probably is going to happen in 2025. And chances are there that the beneficiary will be some of those large enterprise tools, which provides end-to-end capabilities, right? So companies probably may trade off in terms of the accuracy and the quality a little bit, just to in favor of getting a single vendor, single window, to manage this entire customer experience piece.
Exactly. And we have seen this play out in other areas also, right? You have so many tools and all, you're trying to figure out, then slowly people start moving into the larger software players, whether it's Microsoft or Oracle or SAP or things like that, and then they find, and those tools also over a period of time become better and better, so that you don't really miss
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point
I
solutions.
think that is how the technology landscape evolves, right? So some of those point tools are the leaders in terms of innovations.
Correct.
So they drive innovations, they bring in those point products, and then sort of prep and warm up their target audience. And then as they tend to mature, the larger companies either acquire them or build that capabilities on their own platform,
Right.
or the capabilities in their own overall portfolio of offerings. And eventually, these small organizations either get dissolved or get buyout and so on. And then there will be new set of new innovations and new features. That probably is the life cycle or a kind of technology landscape,
Yeah.
right? All right. So moving on to the last prediction that we have picked up today for our discussion. More than 80% of the global customer service outsourcers will pivot to AI services to counter the revenue loss from agent displacement.
Yeah, so I think this is bound to happen, right? This was one of the use cases where we thought AI will be able, especially with Gen AI coming in, to look at how do you replace the agents with AI agents, right? Human agents with AI agents. And it's very easy compared to many of the other use cases to do that in case of customer service, where you can have specific answers to queries and you can bound the things that this is how, if the question is this, you move through this and all. That is how the human agents were also working. You had the flows and all, like if queries in the area of billing, you move this side. If the query is in area of receipt of good, in terms of repair of goods. So there are different things. And that's where I think it was felt, and people have been doing that for the last some period of time in replacing human agents with the AI agents. So it is natural for the outsourcers to move to that and provide services rather than try to continue with the human agents, because then they will lose their whole business.
True. Yeah. What is interesting here is the number that Forrester has quoted, which is 80% of the global customer service outsourcers, which means there's going to be a massive, they are at least predicting there's going to be a massive migration to AI or agentic AI from human AI, sorry, human agent. Like you mentioned, the trend is at play for last several years, but maybe moving starting 2025, we are going to actually see the manifestation more from adoption standpoint, and actually more and more companies, as the AI agentic services evolve faster, going to bend towards that. But this probably is something that is inevitable. That is
And this is also actually moving from human to AI is good for the company, not the outsourcer, but the main company, in the way that one is you don't need to scale during certain periods, the holiday period, retailer needs to scale service departments or something, because that can be easily done when you're using the IT infrastructure to run the AI services. And secondly, also, it helps you to respond to the customer calls faster, right? You're not put on a holding line and listening to some music, which after 2 minutes you start hating, because the same music is on loop. And then in between they'll say your call is important to us. Right? I think from that perspective also, it is good for the customers who are calling in, that they get their solutions faster, and also they don't have to be on the line for a long time, and so that improves the overall customer satisfaction.
True. I think the micro trend under this big trend is many of these contact center service providers or agent based service providers, human agent based service providers, actually are going to be more faster adopters of this, the AI based agentic solutions, to evolve in their own business, which means a sort of cannibalization of their own human service. There's going to be a displacement within their organization itself for them to be able to continue with some of this long term contract outsourcing companies. All right, I think that's about it for 2025. We hope to continue this discussion and see some of these coming to life. We probably are going to touch upon more trends in the coming weeks.
Sure.
But for today, these were the four ones we picked up. Thank you, Anirban, for your time.
Thanks, Jaydeep.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. And for our viewers, please look forward to some more predictions and some more exciting episodes that are coming in. And for some of these resources which are publicly available, we'll see that if we can post that in our YouTube description, video description note. With that, bye from our side today, and we will come back with another episode soon.